Wow. I feel like I just ended a show. Are we starting a new one? What's going on here?
This has just been a continuous show.
We've actually just been here the entire time.
Still on my first air horn.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Casual Friday edition of the DNVR show.
Let's go! Let's go.
Man, there it is. Still with energy, dude. Vogt, I'm telling you.
I got you, dude.
This is where you shine, man.
Summer.
This is where summer.
Summer.
I didn't mean summer. I just meant like when we're all tired, you bring the energy. We're presented as always by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Use promo code DNVR. Sign up, gamble along with us. Little get betting tip. Take the Avs tonight. Going to be a bloodbath. I can't wait for it. I got the homies here. I got the man with the wind in his hair, fresh off of his trip to Ball Arena. He's back here with us.
The ice looked great at Ball Arena last night. I looked at it myself, examined it. I approve.
Oh, fantastic.
I approve for Game 5 tonight.
Last night was one of those nights where we realized, like, the Zoom era is probably over for the last 3 years of the pandemic.
God.
You say thank God, but at the same time, it could have been a Zoom. It's one of these things where it's like a closed room Zoom, could have been out of those things. Everybody goes to Ball Arena, waits for 6 hours.
Could have been.
To have what is essentially a Zoom conversation with Calvin Booth. Nonetheless, we move on. Over here, a man who looks like a painting, Brennan Vogt.
I like how they let Wind onto the ice because they probably just thought he was Nathan McKinnon. They were like, yes. Totally fine.
You're definitely going to win the intros
just
today.
trying to get a night skate in.
You're definitely going to get the win, unless D-Line can bring up the rear here. Back cleanup.
Is that the throw to?
That's it.
Usually go some kind of prompt. What's up, guys? Colorado Avalanche. I don't remember anything. What happened last night?
The Colorado Avalanche.
Okay, don't.
No, not them.
we're
They
on
did
the
not
Nuggets
happen.
You were on a draft show.
Yeah.
I don't.
You were on a draft show.
That does not. I would remember that.
I would
The Nuggets
remember
made
that.
3 picks last night. You analyzed some of them.
I wouldn't say I analyzed anything. I would say I reacted.
You reacted. Gave your reaction.
We all did react, and we're going to react again today. You dig a little bit more, you get some intel, talk to some people. We're going to share some updated perspective and maybe information about the draft picks, and then also turn our attention now to free agency, which begins next week, and talk about, okay, what's left on the to-do list. It feels like a lot, but maybe not. We'll talk about that. What do we expect? What do we need? How big of moves now have to happen for you to feel like, okay, they did a lot this offseason? We'll get into all of that. But you guys know, in preparation for our trip to Serbia, we are being educated by none other than the homie Miroslav on Serbian Corner on Fridays. Why don't we bring him in? The professor himself, Miroslavchuk.
Should we do at some point a test to see how we've retained all of the information?
Oh God, no! We better not. We better not. It's like every week we take a test and then that's it. That's all you have to do. It's like college. You ever have the college classes where you just had to like?
Yeah. We got the syllabus. Yeah, if you just want to email us the syllabus.
Are these notes going to be online, Miroslav?
Yes, I will make them all available.
Let's go.
Thank you.
Well, it's good to see you, buddy. So, it was a late night for us. Is it an early morning for you following the draft?
No, it was horrible. It was from 2 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. So it was a massacre from
That's
my
what it
side.
felt like to me too, honestly. Seems like it's the same timeline.
Do you have
But at
any
least-
takes on Nikola Jovic to the Heat? What do you think of that fit?
Oh, it's just chef kiss. It's beautiful.
Yeah, wow.
I feel for poor Markieff being terrified when he starts reading his teammates' new names. So that's beautiful. That's just wonderful.
Yeah, it actually is pretty hilarious that he went there. I think that's like a pretty funny fit.
It'd be really funny.
Markieff's definitely going to do a double take.
Yeah.
He's like, wait, what?
Dude, he's going to haze him extra hard. This kid's going to be like, why me? I don't understand.
Do you? I want to get we're going to talk more about the draft after we're done with Serbian Corner, but just kind of give us your initial reaction to the fact, to the guys that were picked, but also, the fact that they didn't make a trade, that they ended up picking not just 2 guys with 2 picks, but acquired a 3rd one.
Yeah, and a 4th one as well as a free agent for the 2-way contract, right?
Right.
So-
a 4th player. Yep.
So yeah, I feel so pumped. We are approaching the championship or bust championship with like 4 rookies.
Yeah.
You can't get much better than that. So great, great stuff.
That is kind of funny. So it sounds like you're kind of critical of it in a sense, or maybe at least skeptical at this moment.
I'll wait for another week to see what happens on July 1st to give my final judgment of what's been done. But it's not crazy optimistic from my side right now. But we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see. It might get better.
What do you think of Christian Brown? I mean, he's the real piece that might make an impact next season. What is your kind of read on him as a player?
Well, I like the fact that Calvin Booth said that he was his guy. He was the guy he really wanted, and of course he will say that because imagine if he would say, "Yeah, I wanted this other guy, but unfortunately I had to pick Brown, which really sucks." So I guess I mean he looks really good, like a good defender and a useful offensive piece as well. I like the fact that he's 21, so he has three seasons under his belt. He should be more ready than a project we picked at pick number 30, and I won't even bother remember his name for next couple of weeks. So
All right.
so yeah. Let's. I'm a bit optimistic about that part of the draft.
I can say with a lot of confidence that was the Nuggets guy, and like large part, like I said, intel came in before the draft that was going to be the guy. So the fact that it was, I don't think there was a last second like, oh crap, we're stuck with Brown. I think it was going into it, hey, heads up, this is the guy. They end up taking him. So I feel pretty confident that you're here though to educate us and to teach us about the wild world of Serbia. What is it you can teach us here? What do you have for us today?
Well, we can see the presentation built by me. Beautiful presentation. Can we get the slide number 2, Ali, please?
I just love the way he says
too,
it.
man.
It's such a professor's voice.
Who does this guy think he is?
Slide 2, please.
Doing it his
Thank
whole
you.
life.
So, places to visit in Serbia before you die.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
Wait, are we going to die?
Sorry,
on this
sorry.
trip?
Yeah,
No,
did you
I shouldn't have said it like that.
Yeah,
sorry.
man.
Places to visit in Serbia before you die. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the phrase. That's the phrase.
You didn't answer my
So the-
question. Are we gonna die
Yeah,
on
like
this trip?
honestly, is that a concern? Because it wasn't a concern until you said that. Now, slight
Tracking
concern.
The death concern.
Leisure tourist edition. Can we get the next slide, please?
Just cook.
Okay. So I've picked four places in Serbia, and to be honest, they're not like the top 4 places. You will see some of the other places in Belgrade, for instance, or in Novi Sad that are really nice. And I'm not using these places right now. I wanted to take 4 corners of Serbia, like north, south, west, and east, to show you different corners of Serbia. So the first thing is Javolja Varoš, or Devil's Town.
Yeah, we're dying.
Devil's Town. Wow. Okay. Devil's Town.
So Devil's Town, this natural monument is comprised of 2 natural and rare
Look at all
in the
that
world
text.
phenomena.
Was this copy and pasted from Wikipedia?
I'm not reading that, Miro.
You can tell me if it was.
I did the translation. Come on. So the soil figures as specific forms of relief. Ali, you can put the previous slide. Yeah, just for everybody to see while I'm reading. And the 2 springs of extremely acidic water with high mineralization. These 2 rare phenomena are together observed as the Devil's Town and are a remarkable wonder of nature. The peculiarity of these wonders of nature is complemented by the natural surroundings of the soil figures, seeming very harsh, almost mystical, and in the wider area, picturesque and tame.
I like that in Colorado we have Garden of the Gods, and you guys in Serbia have Devil's Town. Like,
Yeah.
it really shows the difference of how we view nature.
You know, I like that it's a town too.
It is a town, a bunch of
Who's-
devils
yeah,
running
right,
about.
yeah, are the devils living in this town?
Most probably.
Okay.
Miroslav, are we going to see this place?
No, it's very far away from where you
Okay.
will be coming. So I wanted to show it to you. Maybe next time. Okay.
Okay.
Let's-
Yeah.
let's
Sometime
move
before you
on.
die.
Serbia trip 2 will be there.
Yeah, so you can see some of the photos of the Devil's Town as well here.
Oh,
in
there's a
next
lot
couple
to
of
it.
slides.
Look at those springs. My God, that's gorgeous.
Looks
Like
like Utah.
Yellowstone, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Zion, Yellowstone.
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of it. Okay.
It's really nice.
I'll bet
Okay,
you there's
let's
great
move-
birds.
Let's move to the second one and look at this beautiful canyon. So this is Canyon Reke Uvac or Uvac Canyon. You can see how the river meanders here in a really interesting
Oh, wow.
double S.
Yeah, that is cool.
Wow, great feature.
S for Serbia.
That's a great feature. This is great.
So the Uvac River's spectacular meanders are the highlight of the 75 square meter Uvac Nature Reserve in western Serbia. The incredible green river snakes through steep limestone rock in a zigzag manner, a feat of nature that's best admired from high above at Molitva or Veliki Vrh lookouts. The reserve, which also comprises of 6 kilometers long cave system, owes its protected status to 219 species of plants, 24 types of fish, and 130 bird species,
There we
including
go.
the endangered beloglavi soup or griffon vulture.
Oh, wow. The Griffin
Wow.
Vulture. Are we going here?
Google Griffin Virtual.
No, it's
Okay.
too far away from
All
the
right. Well, before we die.
I am
I would be
comforted, I
down
am
to go there.
comforted to know that he's not planning on killing us.
I'd rather
is
go
true.
there than the Devil's Town.
No, man, with all the birds, for sure. Okay. What else? What else we got?
Yeah, and another picture as well, Ali. Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's
What
really
a
beautiful.
what a sunset, man.
Wow.
And you can see the beautiful bird in the middle.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. That's the Griffin condor
Yeah, it wasn't made by me, but
vulture.
what you gonna do? Okay, next site.
Long wingspan, by the way, if we're still in draft mode
Really?
for the vulture.
Great.
Oh yeah, what are the measurables on that?
7.5
on that
to
Griffin?
9.2.
Whoa, that's
yeah.
crazy.
That's positive wingspan.
That is
Yeah,
positive.
Okay,
Definitely
he's draftable. then.
draftable.
We are now moving to the eastern Serbia, and this is Vodopad Veliki Buk or waterfall Veliki Buk. This waterfall is also known as Lisine, and it is located in eastern Serbia near Resava Cave and Manasija Monastery. It is no Niagara Falls, but there are no pork and lamb roasts, Serbian grill, or local kajmak in Niagara. So this
Oh,
will
well.
work as well.
I didn't
So
follow that. but-
Okay. All right. Cool.
You can see the following photos as well.
It would be fun if this trip were constantly like bathing in waterfalls together. That
This
would
is-
be a
how
really
he
good
makes
Which
trip.
it sounds like
Yeah.
we're going exclusively to.
So
Wow.
So this is the Manasija Monastery. It is inside of a fort. It's a beautiful monastery and a beautiful fort in eastern Serbia. And a slide before that was the cave, the Resava cave, the most famous cave in Serbia.
Okay.
Are there, any,
famous cave in Serbia.
are there any places we should see where people are, or no?
Just like an ice
There are
cream shop.
tourists.
or-
Like you guys just showed up and there was everything. Haven't you ever done anything that's site worthy since?
We can't build anything. It's beautiful natural wonders. Like no buildings.
Tourists come to these caves. I'm not sure how many of them returns, but a lot of them come.
Okay.
Oh, you dog.
You dirty dog.
Okay, let's move on. The final place for today is Lake Palić.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh.
Now this is something you might see actually because it's close to Subotica, which is close to Sombor, so we might take a trip to Lake Palić, one of my favorite places in Serbia. Lake Palić is shockingly a lake located on the far north of Serbia near Subotica, not so far away from Sombor, as I already said. It is a good place to go for some top-notch fish stew, but also some other specialties from Serbian and Hungarian cuisine. And we can see a couple of more pictures
Okay.
as well of Lake Palić.
Wow. It looks like there's this
beautiful.
big palace on it. Is there? What is this called? Do you know? I'm looking at pictures online as we do this as
That's
well.
Nico Jokic's home.
Yeah, it
Ali,
looks like.
Ali, yeah. You can see this and this, yeah. Now this last slide, this is just a one gigantic.
Yeah, that's
coffee
it. That's
place.
what I'm looking at. Yeah.
It's a coffee place.
What?
It's a coffee place built in former Yugoslavia, and it's quite how to say from the old times, but it's really nice. It has a beautiful view, and it's right on the lake. So.
Miroslav, I have to ask you, where do you
I really
stand
like
on where do you stand on iced coffee, or ice in general in a beverage?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question. I would say I
guess.
take every 10th coffee during the summer as an ice one.
All right.
Every 10?
What?
That's a
Yeah,
madman.
most of them I still take hot during the summer. Yeah.
Wow.
Man, that's crazy.
I think it's weirder that you've got it
I'm-
down to like a science like that. Every 10th.
Yeah,
coffee.
I'm actually traveling to Greece next week.
Oh,
and
congrats.
They're famous for their iced coffee over there, like ice frappe as they call it. And
Yeah.
I hate it. I don't like it. a lot of people love it. I don't love it, so I take it hot.
Coffee snob Miroslav. Did not
Well,
expect it.
I've come to learn that ice in general is a very controversial topic in all of Europe.
Really?
They don't like ice.
How do you not like ice?
That's what I was hoping to understand from Miroslav.
I don't understand it, man. Like a
Objection,
nice
dude.
cold beverage. It's like
So
we've
interesting.
like society has created all these luxuries for us to kind of enjoy. How would you pass on that one?
My feeling is, and Miroslav, please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the Serbians live in such an old culture that they hate all new ideas, and that ice came in after that Devil's Town and that tower, all of these places, and they were like, "We're done with new ideas." Am I right or no?
Yeah, yeah. I actually just spoke to my buddy. He's living in San Diego for the last 10 years, and he told me that for some reason Americans like everything much colder comparing to what Europeans do. I mean, we do like cold beer and cold beverages in general, but they're not as cold as they are in the
We like it cold, baby.
Man, we're really getting into the weeds here.
Yeah,
Well,
this is going to be.
listen,
This is gonna happen though. Yeah.
I was going to say, if anything. If anything we've learned today is going to affect our trip, it's not going to be Devil's Town. It's
Right.
gonna be,
Right.
can we have ice?
Can we have ice in our coffee? And they're like, "Get the f out of my country!"
Lack
We're
of
like, "Damn
ice.
it!"
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The
we
one
ask
thing,
for ice and they take
the
us
one
to
thing,
Devil's Town.
this is mostly a European thing, but it is, I think, broadly Italian thing. But like the idea of putting milk in your coffee could like be offensive. This that. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? You got to put milk in the coffee. That's coffee.
You're like, it's very bitter otherwise.
Yeah, it's like actually got that good. So are we gonna? Can we put some milk and sugar in our coffee, or is it? Are we
Do we
gonna
have to bring it ourselves?
Do
Do
we
I have
have
to
to-
bring- do I have to bring ice from home?
I am very pro milk in coffee.
Oh, okay.
All right.
It's not good for you. It's actually a terrible combination of coffee and milk, because milk is used to calm your stomach and coffee is used to make your stomach burst. So when they clinch together, it's really bad.
I'm going to need to do some research
but
on
I love it. I
Miroslav.
still take it like that.
Serbian Corner is by far
I
the
need to
best
see a
segment.
couple
It's
peer-reviewed
so
studies
dumb,
on that
but
one.
so good.
This Serbian corner has a lot of smaller corners packed inside of it.
What I really want to ask you now, Miroslav, before we get out of here for this segment is, the trip now, as we have talked about, aiming for that first week of September, which lines up with Eurobasket. I mean, obviously it's a big deal. Nikola Jokic sounds like committed to it. Just kind of tell us, set the scene for us. What is Belgrade going to look like? Game 1 of pool play for Eurobasket featuring Nikola Jokic.
I don't know. We'll have to see it. All the bars will be full for sure during every game.
Let's go.
And the hype will be really, really high, and hopefully the team will play good enough to keep the hype real high. Because to be completely honest, I am not a huge optimist coming into this Eurobasket. I'm a less of an optimist than what I used to be like in 2019, and hopefully I'm wrong, and you just rely on the best player in the world and you just crush everybody. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. Luckily, Coach Pešić, he is known to be a guy that trusts his guys a lot. So famously, his last big championship with Yugoslav team was back in 2002, the World Cup in America that Yugoslavia won. And he just said, okay, I have Divac, I have Stojakovic, I will just play NBA basketball with those two guys, and everybody else just fit in. So hopefully this will be the way he will approach the Eurobasket this time around.
Yeah, we kind of talked about, first week for pool play or second week for tournament play, and I'm thinking, I don't want to be there if they lose.
I kind of do, actually.
Don't. Like, we're going to be at the bar. We're like there to have a great time and
out the
everything. And
back.
everybody's just like mad,
But
maybe blaming us somehow. Like, I don't want that.
And they've got
environment.
ice in their drink.
Man, we'll get these guys out of here.
Yeah. Although maybe if we come across a downtrodden country of Serbia and we're able to lift their spirits through our
Yeah.
friendship and our jovial nature.
Yeah, I'm sure
we'll
that's
be
just it.
crowned as kings. We could live in that
Coffee house.
that coffee house that we saw, or maybe at that lake.
Yeah. We're just screaming to everyone, don't worry, guys. The Nuggets season will be great.
Yeah,
We're like,
it'll be
get that out of our country.
Championship or bust, everybody.
Championship for bust. We got Peyton Watson. All right, Miroslav, very educational as always. Do you have any
I've
parting
never
wisdom
learned
for
more.
us? This is going to come in so handy for sure.
Oh yeah, next week, Serbia's best wax museums. So, the guy on the
No
left
way.
you have to trust me. This is Vlade Divac on the left.
Oh my
And
God.
on the right, it is Novak Djokovic. So
Wow.
these are the real wax figures from actually the only wax museum in Serbia. And yeah.
I love that you call it a Vax
I was gonna
museum
say-
for Djokovic.
I gotta say, Wax Museum, some of the weirdest, like one of the weirdest things ever.
Wax museums?
Yeah.
Poorly done wax museums are a treasure. It's like life-size bobbleheads.
Is there a non-zero chance we can finish this whole experience with our own wax recreations?
Oh, can you imagine?
It would have to be a
hard.
legendary
I've been
run.
dreaming of this my whole life. Not only can I imagine, I
Just
can
be,
show you a detailed
be
plan.
remembered in wax.
If you can, plant the seed to some of the people out there. We would appreciate a wax
Yeah, like
museum for
some,
us.
some of- yeah,
Only at the best wax museum, though.
yeah, the top wax artisans only, please.
I think the bobbleheads are more realistic, but we'll see.
All right, Miroslav, thanks so much, buddy. Have a great weekend. Let's take a break. On the other side, we're gonna get serious again and dive into some more details about the draft from yesterday.
Well, if you guys haven't been able to watch Nuggets and Avs games, Rapids games this entire season for the last 3 years, Evoca TV, they've got Altitude Sports, they've got other national channels, they got AT&T Sportsnet, and you can get Evoca TV for just $15 a month for those first 3 months. Go to evoca.tv/DNVR. Use the promo code DNVR. You're going to get $10 off your first 3 months. That comes out to only $15 a month for those first 3 months, plus a receiver, no contracts, no hidden fees. They're not going to lock you in for multiple years. They're not going to hike the price up on you. Promo code DNVR at evoca.tv/DNVR. You're going to get $10 off Evoca TV for your first 3 months. That's only $15 a month for those first 3 months. Altitude Sports, AT&T Sportsnet, other national channels as well. Gets it up with it this summer, so you're good to go in the fall. At DraftKings Sportsbook right now, we've got Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight. The Stanley Cup Final, Stanley Cup Final. The final chase for the Stanley Cup is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final, has a can't-miss offer for the most exciting series in sports. New customers can bet $5 on either team to win their game. Get $100 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Also, check out DraftKings Sportsbook same-game parlays. Turn a small bet into a huge, massive payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DNVR. New customers can bet $5 on either NHL team to win their game. Get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
All right, back here, segment 2. Let's re-dive back into the draft a little bit. Provide some
who'd
new
they take?
context. They took Christian Brown with 21,
Sick.
Peyton Watson with 30,
We all had him number one on the big board, as I recall.
and also Kamagate,
Kamagate.
who I've told is like it's Kamagate, like say it casually.
Kamagate.
Like casual,
Maybe
like
don't
Friday
put the
casual.
flourish.
Yeah, like if you like,
Kamagate
it's almost
is a little
impossible
much.
to
I
not
know.
to. That's
I
the
know.
hard
It's more
part.
fun that
Kamagate.
way.
Yeah.
Kamagate.
So
We'll get there.
You won't have to say his name for another year, though.
I know.
That's
Call
the
him
good
Ishmael.
thing.
yeah, for real. You actually never have to say his name again
I hate
after this
that.
week, so
Come
don't
on.
worry about that.
That
Got nothing.
Yeah,
it was good.
I got it.
You know,
I'm a Kamagate guy. Like, I'm high on him.
well, let's talk about that. So, having a chance to kind of talk to some people and digest Wind, is any part of your perspective on any of these guys? Is there any new information or new perspective that you sort of take for this, or maybe even just a new emphasis on an already established perspective?
Yeah, I think naturally you have a little different view of it after kind of your reaction in the moment. Look, I think what the Nuggets ultimately did tonight might be kind of judged by the next moves they make in the trade market.
I think
in
that part
free
is
agency.
no question.
Definitely.
Yeah, because if they don't make any moves, this night's going to look bad. If they are able to make a move or two, I think this night could look very good.
Right.
Christian Braun, I would look at him as a guy who's going to compete for.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do
rotation
this
minutes
every
next season.
It's
Christian
Brown. We're
Brown.
gonna do it every time too. It's so
'cause they're
hard.
It's
I
like
blame him.
You've got
I
Calvin
blame him
Booth,
too.
Christian Brown, like B-O-B-R. It's like
All right, you
just
lost
don't
me on that
confuse
one.
it.
I
Don't
know.
look at the name. Just be like
Picture
it's
Brown,
Christian Brown.
Christian Brown, you should expect him to try to compete for rotation minutes next season. Peyton Watson, I view him as a guy who is definitely a year away from making an impact. He's going to be in the G League a lot, and I think the Nuggets looked at him and said, hey, if he went back to school, he could be a high first-round pick next season, a lottery pick maybe. So let's take him now and develop him, and next year we can reap the benefits of that. And then Kamagate in the second round. The Nuggets don't have a first-round pick next season, so they're going to stash him, bring him over next year. You can look at that as the first-round pick. But there's still a lot of work left to do. And Calvin Booth even said that last night. There's still work left to do because I don't think the Nuggets moved a step closer to winning a championship last night. And that was one of the goals I outlined at the top of last night's draft show. They still need to do that.
Right.
So there's unfinished business, D-Line.
Let's go.
I think, again, this is because it's so on my mind right now. I think we can go ahead and say that's not I think this is the line that they are saying, that they view Peyton Watson as a draft early type. I don't remember. There's front offices use this, like, who's the guy we're a year early on? Jokic was this. Jokic, he was a second round this.
Yep.
But Tim Conley always talked about when they took him, they're like, we think if we waited a year, because if they didn't draft Jokic in 2014, they could have tried to in 2015, but he might have gone to, we already know, to Real Madrid or whatever, or he might have gotten drafted by somebody else the next year. They were like, if we do it now, there's a chance he has a breakout year. He did, of course. And if Jokic was drafted in 2015, he probably goes 12, 13, 14. He goes in the lottery. A guy that I have heard different stories of, there's different types of guys. Obi Toppin maybe was one of these guys who went back to school, had a great second year, and then it ended up being a lottery pick. John Morant's maybe the most famous one, goes to college, has a good, not great year, looks like he has some flaws, goes back, all of a sudden he's the number 2 pick and a superstar. So there's always these guys where you're making the thing. Peyton Watson, the team is representing and is saying, hey, this is a guy that we feel he underwhelmed in his rookie season, and that's why he was a 30th pick. But they believe that if he were to go back to college, next year he would have been this really high pick, and, like, why not get him now? He's going to fit that timeline for Denver. So Denver doesn't have a first-round draft pick next year. This almost feels like next year's first-round draft pick. He'll probably be in the G League this year. He's probably going to make no impact on the team, but maybe it's the 1 year that the redshirt year you need, and next year he's your draft pick.
Yeah, I mean that like strategically makes sense. It like I can understand the thinking. I mean, it's like we talked about this already ad nauseum last night, like whether or not, I mean, clearly these are their guys. These are the guys that they believe in. So I think that I personally put a lot of stock in that because I think that these guys know what they're looking for and they understand, how to evaluate basketball players. Again, but my thing is just like, did we get our guys in the most strategic way? Did we get our guys in a way that also then sets us up for the future in the context of asset management? Did we get our guys in the way that, and maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe, at the end of the day, if you just have good players, that's enough. And you can get lost in the game of GMing a little bit. There's always the really clever guy in any fantasy draft that gets the sleeper picks or whatever, and it amounts to maybe they do well, they get a couple guys, but they don't. Oftentimes, just making the right pick, getting the right guys is the whole game, right? It just I guess for me, again, it's just I am so accustomed to feeling like our front office is getting over on other front offices, and so to feel like we're just
The draft specifically.
In the draft specifically, yeah, that hasn't been the case at all when it comes to the phones part of
Right.
the GMing, but the draft part, perhaps we were spoiled. So, but I love the idea that they, in the way that you're talking, I mean, the guy is an enormous human being. He has very long arms. He has all of the things that you look at when you're just kind of looking at a basketball player in the abstract. He looks like a great basketball player, and to know that he has great speed and side to side action, he's able to be a real impact on defense. I mean, that already is something just so sorely needed by the Nuggets. And then you start to wonder, like, okay, do they even need any more offense? You know, do they even need a guy that they can even turn to? I mean, obviously you don't want somebody that's so horrendously deficient that their defender can sag off of them and clog the paint.
Right.
But I don't know. I just, in just like ruminating on this throughout the night, I mean, I sort of was left with the idea, like, okay, we drafted defense. That's exactly what we needed. I shouldn't be upset. I had ideas of who I wanted, but like, what are those based on?
Right.
You know, so I don't know. That's kind of where I am today.
I think Brown, by the way, when you were talking about, to me, I don't think that's like a wasted asset. Like, I know there's a lot of speculation. Could you have traded back and got him at 25, 26? I honestly don't think so. I think he went where he was supposed to, and I think that they went into this draft with items checklist. Number 1, get Brown at 21.
And don't be too cute about it.
And don't be too cute about it.
Him.
And then, like, item number 2, I do think there was probably some flexibility there. Right. Trade's going to happen 30, this or that. I don't know that it was like, hey, Peyton Watson, we got at 30, we got to get him.
Right.
It was read the board, read the room, try to do some stuff, and this is one of our options. It was a guy that they really liked and had that perspective on, and then when the option came, of course, we had, I think Mike Singer even reported it out around pick 28, Denver's going to use 30. So I don't think this was a thing where they're on the clock and they're like, hurry, call, get this and that. I think it was one of those things where they were reading the draft throughout the night. When it got to a certain point, they're like, all right, we're going with plan whatever. Maybe that was plan A, maybe it was plan B, C, D, whatever. But it was like, okay, we have a checklist in place of things that could happen. This is the one, and this is what we're doing in this scenario, whether you agree or disagree.
I think they came away from the draft, though, loving their haul. Like, speaking with Calvin in person last night and just kind of getting a sense for his emotions and just his tone, he's ecstatic about their haul. Like, he is really, really happy they walked away with these 3 guys.
Question, though. Have you guys ever been in the room after a draft?
Yes.
They felt
yes.
Tyler Lydon draft, you could
They came out in
absolutely
separate
tell.
press
There
conferences.
were 2 press conferences.
Two press conferences. It was a no question. And to be honest, man, like, even the Michael Porter one was one of those ones where it was like, I mean, it was mixed. It was exactly how it played out, where it was kind of like, man, this could be awesome. We're not sure. We're a little nervous, but man, this could be awesome.
Like, I'm hamming it up, but they came out of the war room like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But they came out of that in 2 ways, kind of like this guy's awesome, but like also like, holy hell, is this a risky but cool move? You know. So
I remember feeling that way when I was in Europe last time talking to you. I talked to you the next morning. I was like, how should I feel about this? You're like, the way that you do.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, okay.
Yeah. So I actually think that to your question, yes, it's not always the like rah. You can kind of tell the BS rah versus the like this. I do think, and I said this last night, I actually feel more emboldened after talking, with front office people today, that this is actually indicative of what they view their role to be right now. I know that, and a lot of people are going to say like asset management, this or that. We can talk about that as we get into the next segment about free agency, because I do think it's a legitimate concern. But I do think that this shows you that what do they value? They're like, we need to just get a bunch of defenders, and we need them on different timelines. Brown, right now, I believe the hope, they believe the hope is that he's going to be, maybe by game 20, 30, somewhere in that range, a guy that can play 15 minutes a night in the rotation. That's their hope. I don't think it's like we're putting our season on it, but I think they're saying if he can get to that point, it's a boom for us because he is that caliber player. By the way, one of the things that I think was reiterated to me a lot today was the length. Like, people are underselling his length.
Specifically reiterated to you.
Yeah. Well, like, hey, this guy's 6'7". They're like, a lot of people view him as a 2'3". No, he's a 2. He's a 6'7" 2. Yeah. And like, I actually think this is fair. Barton is a tall 2. He's 6'6".
Yeah.
This guy's 6'7". Now the wingspan maybe makes them sort of comparable in that way, but Brown projects to be a big, like a 90th percentile length height 2. And I think that's part of what this is like. We got to get taller, we got to get more athletic, and we got to get defense. And that's why I say, whether you agree with the asset management or not, to me this actually hints at, hey, it's not going to be sexy. And by the way, when we get to free agency part next, I kind of think their moves there are going to reflect the moves here, where we're going to look at them and be like, interesting, like, is that enough? But it's going to be like, hey, we got 7 defenders on the roster now. Some are ready now, some are not, some are here, but we've got a lot of bodies.
Yeah, I felt like there was a clear draft philosophy this time around.
Right.
That was given to us verbally. It was reflected in who they brought in, who they talked to. and reflected in the draft process itself. I thought it was clear, and I do think, Tim is very good at drafting. It is like considerably more vibes based.
Right. He said it last night.
Yeah, he
had a quote last night where Dane Moore asked him what he likes, and he said, "I like guys that are nice," and I love that he used nice. Not nice, and I think some people are reading it because I saw some replies where he means kind. Nice people. No. He's like, no, man. I mean that boy nice.
That boy nice. Yeah. And no, seriously,
that's really what he means.
That's exactly what he means.
Because if you read the whole quote, he says at the end, he's like, I like guys that can ball or
that
something like that.
Oh wow! I really read that as he likes people that are cordial.
No, it was everything we've been talking about with Tim Connolly's draft history, just coming together in one quote.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He really is that boy nice watcher, and it's worked out for him. But
it's worked out.
So for better or worse, one thing we can state: day one, the day after the draft, I felt like that was a discernible difference this time around. There was a clear strategy, and they followed it.
Here's another thing with Peyton Watson. Again, this is another thing the front office believes. This is the first time they've brought in a legitimate 3. He's a 3. He's not a 3-4, maybe more of a 4, better at 4, 2-3, better at 2, like Davon or this or that. They're like, no, he is a small forward defender. And trying to go through the roster, there's been a lot of trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like, hey, Malik Beasley's kind of tall and athletic. Can he be a 3? Or Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, all these guys that aren't, but it's like, can we slide him? Even Jeff Green. And I think their whole thing is this guy projects, again, I don't think they have any expectations for him next year and expectations of development, but not to help the Nuggets. But the hope is that 2 years from now, 3 years and beyond, he is the defensive 3, straight 3 that is needed, and there's no ambiguity there.
Absolutely. And to go back to a point you were making a couple minutes ago, this wasn't a sexy draft for the Nuggets, I don't think.
Sure.
It's not like they walked out with a Bones Highland or a Michael Porter Jr. or a Bull that really gets the people going. But I just feel like they accomplished and did a lot of good business in this draft in terms of getting some of these defensive pieces that might be ready at different times. And the more I look at Christian Braun, the more excited I get. And you talk about him being a big 2 guard. Calvin Booth went into the NBA Combine liking Christian Braun, but he watched Christian Braun play in 2 scrimmages at the Combine, and I think fell in love with him. At least that's the sense I get. Braun had 2 really good scrimmages.
Vertical, by the way, which I think is the most reported thing. The second best vertical at the Combine.
Well, consider this
second best.
Consider that the vertical is measured by how high you reach. So his arms are shorter too. So
it's like
jumping higher.
Standing. Right? Well, I think it's actually standing. You measure it, then you jump and measure it.
But
so
I'm
it
saying
is still,
like the arms are a factor in the vertical, right?
Yeah, but yeah, he's a hell of a defender. He's gonna play his ass off every single minute that he's out there. He's not afraid to piss people off. Michael Malone's going to love him and I think really appreciate his style of play. And yeah, he's a big-time athlete as well. 40-inch vert. And the wingspan thing, Calvin even addressed it last night. He goes, I look at length as like a whole package deal. He's 6'7" at the 2.
Right.
That's a little different than a 6'7", 3 or 4.
Right.
And I was just looking at some wingspans last night. Alex Caruso, 6'5" with a 6'6" wingspan. Guy's a hell of a defender.
Yeah, it's a 6'6" wingspan. It's the same thing.
Pretty much has an even wingspan.
I'm telling you, that's the thing is it's a negative wingspan, but you're starting from 6'7", and it's only 6'6" and a half.
You really
so
should just measure their arms and not take into consideration.
If Alex Caruso can get it done at a 6'6" wingspan, I think Christian Braun can get it done.
Right.
I don't want to hear the word wingspan for 3 months, but we will.
So it is funny. That's all we're going to talk about. Wingspan corner.
The one thing I think there's only one take that I have that I don't really regret, but that I kind of have a different perspective on from last night, and that was that I think that Christian Braun ups the goofy factor a little bit. And part of this is because when I'm only watching, I'm not seeing interviews, I'm only watching him play and run around. And he does look like a little bit like, you look at him and you go, is this guy actually good, right? He doesn't have that immediate look. I think he might be more of a Tyler Hero than he is like a JJ Redick or something.
Lydon.
You know what I mean? Or Tyler Lydon. Yes, exactly. What I mean by that is
what side of the Tyler
Lydon's getting a lot of shade in this show. I'm sorry, Tyler.
I'm just saying that I think this dude is going to be like flying off the handle a little bit, not in like in a crazy way or this or that. I don't think he's a dirty player, this or that. But I don't think people are going to be calling him goofy.
People,
you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Opposing fans are going to hate Christian Braun.
Yeah. Right.
I can already tell you that. Nuggets fans, I think, are going to love Christian Brown. Everybody else is going to hate him.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, good.
That's a good thing.
I really like the pick. I really do. I
Me
liked
too.
it at the
I do
time.
too,
I liked
actually.
it heading into it. I like it now. And the biggest thing I overthought was where they took him, but as has been pointed out so saliently, like what you can get too cute and it can cost you OG, as we've seen in the past. Just take your guy if that's your guy. Watson, I like as a prospect insofar as we've all said we want to give, or I like him more today than last night is what I'm trying to say. We all agreed to like give Calvin Booth the benefit of the doubt. Well, he seems very excited about this pick. Obviously he's the final decision maker, but his fingerprints seem all over this particular pick. And so I'll give it a chance.
Right.
Might be the guy that he identified. And
I think Calvin was the highest on Peyton Watson.
there's a particular point that folks are upset about, and I think it's valid, and we'll get to it, I'm sure.
In segment three.
3.
The last guy, Ismail Kamagate. So with him, what's interesting is he's going to be a stash player. He's playing in the French league. He's playing in Paris. Now, the thing is, that league, I am told, is the second most athletic league. So you talk about there's different strengths or whatever. That one, athleticism. So the thing is, he dominated defensively against athletes. So the question of like, oh, is he just blocking shots from guys that are trying to do reverse layups around him? Like, no, he's playing against guys that are as comparable to the NBA athletically as you're going to get, and he's holding up athletically. The thing with him is going to be positioning and this or that. But he's a guy that I think they look at and think, going to be stashed. Interesting story. He's going to be playing alongside, it looks like, Victor W., the number one prospect.
Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, I'm just going to call him Victor W. I think
like
that's
that.
fine.
That's
I think it's
disrespectful.
fine.
No, he's knowing his limits.
I know my own limits here. We'll get there. I'll learn it eventually. Victor W. So he probably will end up being what looks like maybe an understudy. I heard this actually from somebody out of Flo. I think first gave me a little tip on this. Follow up and then get it confirmed. So it looks like that's a weird thing, right? You'd love for him to be the number one center. Victor's definitely going to be the number one guy. We'll see that works, but I know that the front office also thinks there's a path. Again, a second round pick is a bit of a flyer, but there's a path to where Kamagate might grow into a guy that plays alongside Jokic, that there might be room for those two guys because of his mobility, his, ability to move out on the perimeter, that maybe you face a matchup where you got a Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis combo. All right, you got Dwight Howard. Kamagate, you got Anthony Davis. Like, he projects to be the type of defender that can go out against a mobile, long player and move his feet on the perimeter. So, again, it's a flyer. I don't think you should be banking on that, but that's just kind of where he's at. So next year, the only downside I see is next year, it's going to be weird watching the stats and watching things come through for him when he's going to be an understudy.
That's a good point.
To another player.
You're just going to have to pay attention to the right stats, like blocks,
Block percentages even.
Yeah, he had 9 blocks in the game last year.
Yeah.
In Paris. He won Defensive Player of the Year in that French A-League.
Notable.
Yeah.
So he is a really highly regarded defender at 21 years old. He's still fairly young, not, an 18, 19-year-old, but I think much closer to a potential NBA impact than that. But, he's intriguing. So got some tools.
Here's the thing now I want to go to is grading it right now is always dumb because we got to see these guys play. We at least got to see them in Summer League.
Yeah, I refuse to give any judgment until I watch them on a basketball.
But let's set the standard here. What would make 1 year from now? What would make you, D-Line, feel like that Christian Brown pick was nailed it? What would make it an A grade?
That
1 year from now,
that he made an impact on the court, like that he actually. I mean, most likely with the second. I mean, in the same way that Bones did. Like that was a home run pick. I mean, like in that Bones did not start at the beginning of the year, but at the end of the year, he was so undeniable that he had to get minutes, and then essentially won a playoff game for us. I mean, I don't need that to happen with Christian Brown, but I need him to be visible, like for him to actually impact this win now window that we're in. Like otherwise, we're talking about win tomorrow, win next week.
Right.
It's like. If we any moves that we make that don't impact winning now, as has been stated, like are failures, right?
I think the only thing I would push back on that is Bones joined a worse team because there was no
depleted.
It was
depleted
a
team.
perfect storm for Bones Highland with Jamal Murray being out also.
But I do agree with. So I think that Brown's going to get much less opportunity and probably have less of an opportunity to make an impact. But I do think you're right in that can he be as ready to make an impact, and it might only be one game in a playoff, or it might only be for 3 months of the season because it took 20. But as long as he's able to go in there and like, oh, so-and-so got hurt, he's got to play 12 games, what do you know? locked up some guys over that stretch.
I think for me, you're heading into next season. He's in the rotation,
Right.
And you know that.
Not just a
mean
rotation,
the-
but he's
the
a value add. Like, oh,
season
we
after this.
Precisely, right? So this year we'll see. Like maybe he gets kind of the RJ Hampton, gets to appear here and there. Because I don't think he's in this rotation right away. We'll see what happens next.
No, it won't
but
be right away.
kind of sort of compete for it a little bit, take advantage of some opportunities. But I do think by the second season you want to say, we like this kid, he's playing for us, and we know that.
it might be a little bit of a mini or a lesser Kuminga influence, where Kuminga won the Warriors some games this year, and he played great. As you went on, clearly, okay, you're starting
Less
to get
and
out
less.
of the Kuminga role. Like he's
Yeah.
less of this, and maybe Brown's that. Maybe Brown makes an impact in a game in the first round, and maybe a half in the
Yes.
second round. Nuggets hopefully going further than that. At some point, it's like, all right, we're down to 8 guys. He's not
Right,
one of them.
right,
That's
right,
fine. Don't expect that.
Sure.
All right, the harder.
Well, let me just say, if he can defend, if he defends like he did in college, he's going to play. Because as of right now, we'll see.
They believe that he is going to be that guy, by the way. They think he's going to be an NBA level player, defender.
We'll see what moves they make from here on out. Trades. We think there could be one that comes. Free agent signings. As of right now, Christian Brown is a top 3 perimeter defender on the Nuggets. Of guys under contract.
Aaron Gordon.
Aaron Gordon, and then actually probably top 2 because Austin Rivers isn't even under
Right.
contract.
Yeah.
He's a top 2 defender on the Nuggets right now.
Right.
So if he can defend at a level
part of
or
the
close
problem,
to
but
the
yeah.
level he did at Kansas, I think he plays.
I think he can be that Austin Rivers role. Maybe not right away, but by year 2, I think that's the kind of guy.
The difference between them is that Austin Rivers has been through it so much that you worry less about the offense. And this is the thing is you don't want to put a guy out of series. This is why I say the deeper you get into a playoff series, you can throw a guy out there for one game. They're not game plan for him. You play him out there for like games 4, 5, 6, and 7. A team's like, all right, we're going to force this guy to dribble left and pull up from the mid-range or whatever. And it's like you can't expect a young guy to be prepared for all of those things. Can he guard a game here, a game there in a playoff series? We hope he can build up to that. I'm optimistic. The harder one, though, is Peyton Watson. What 1 year from now, where does he have to be that you go like that's a success? And I'll give you a little bit more than 1 year. I'll give you 1 year and 2 weeks so we get to the Summer League of next year.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to see enough of him over the next year that I'm going to feel like I can gauge this. I don't. You like to, you hope to hear that the team feels really confident he's turning a corner, that he can maybe fight for a rotation spot. Wouldn't expect him to get it in the first 2 years even. So I do think this is more like a 2.5, 3 year thing before we start talking about him. But maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, for me, it's like I want to know that he's making a little noise in the G League. Like we consistently somehow end up with LeBron James in the G League. It's Torrey Craig, it's Monte Morris, all of these guys that like go down and they make real noise. And I mean, not only that, like I just want to see it. Like I want to see it in Summer League. I want to see these guys and be like, okay, I can see it. I can see it. Like, you know,
Does
I
he
don't know
have
what
the biggest
timeline
Summer
is.
League for you?
What's that?
Does he have the biggest Summer League for you? Like he's the guy that maybe can really. If he has a great Summer League, you buy him?
It's definitely Brown.
Okay.
For sure. But I just, you know, like this is my problem with this pick is that we're just all like, you know, what are you going to do? And it's a first round pick.
Right.
You know, and it's
Yeah,
like that to me is troublesome. Like that to me is like I wish they would have maybe traded in the next year for a push it a year forward, whatever. Like I hate just like how casually we're talking about something that is so valuable. You know, like it's a flyer. I get it, and
It's
so
an
I want
expensive flyer, though.
It's a very
It's an
expensive
expensive
flyer. So
flyer.
I want to watch him play basketball, and I want to be convinced that this is a guy that can grow into the NBA game and can be impactful in the way that they're saying defensively, but also like you can just see it. Like for me at that point, I'm like, okay, it's a success in that we have real potential here, and you know a lot of things happen from that point on. But like at least like the starting point is good.
Yeah, the first thing I'm going to be looking for at Summer League is to see if he's just capable at all on offense.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're worried about. His defense is pretty incredible, but he couldn't get on the floor last season because he just wasn't capable offensively. And UCLA also had like a really veteran team, 10 guys returning from their team 2 years ago to last year. Really good squad. That was another reason why he couldn't play. But the defense you just assume is going to be there. Like if the defense isn't there at Summer League, that's going to be concerning. But you assume the defense is going to be there. if he could just hold it together offensively, I think that's going to be really encouraging.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like D-Line said, he makes some noise in the G League. We start looking at some box scores and being like, ooh,
all right.
Did you see Peyton Watson had 3 steals and 4 blocks last
Right.
night?
Whatever. You
Right.
see that plus minus? Holy cow.
So I think with him, one of the interesting things is his offense was kind of boosted, and I think that's part of this is like that's one I can read the company line like, hey, this guy's not as bad as he sounds on offense. It sounds to me like they view him more as you would view Jared Vanderbilt, where he has some tools offensively, but they're not connected. So it's like if you have a guy that can drive and get to the rim but can't finish, the driving and get to the rim is wasted. If you have a guy that, you know what I mean, slashes well or something. And I think that's more of it. It's not that this is a guy that can't dribble, pass, or shoot. It's that they're too fragmented to be able to put together in a useful role. So he's going to have to like refine the connecting parts of his game and find a lane offensively where now it becomes a valuable trait. But that his calling card is defense. So it's defense, and can you find a thing that you do? Offensive rebound, finish at the rim really hard, draw fouls at the rim. Like, can you find a lane offensively? And he has some of the traits there to make that, but he's got to connect them and got to refine them and polish them. For me, this is actually an easy answer because, to your point, it is a first-round pick. And they are prompting this as a second draft guy, right? Or that a guy that's going to be next year a first-round pick. I think that's what it has to be. Next year, we have to look at him as a guy that we add to the roster and is our first-round pick of 2023. Yes. So to me, Davon Reed kind of feels a little bit like this. Not a first-round pick, but he feels like a guy that last year was a test run for this year, and now Denver re-signs him, and it's like, okay, Davon Reed's a guy. I think Peyton Watson has to be that caliber only in his own role, obviously a different role, but it has to be that next year we kind of pencil in, boom, added a defensive player, and he's in the rotation. It's like, okay, you got him. He's going to be, if not in the rotation as the number 2 guy, he's got to be a tool that you're like, that's a guy now that we have that's going to be in short order there. So
I was watching some of his tape last night. Kind of reminded me of a young Jeremy Grant with how he moves.
He's fluid, like defensively. He likes his moves, I think, very, very well. Gets through screens really easily.
Super long.
Very long, like his arms are just going.
Kind of Jeremy Grantish.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that's not the worst thing. And then Kamagate, to me, is he's got to come over next year. Like, stashes are always scary because 1 year, all right, then they come over. 2 years, you start to get the Peter Quarterly where you're just kind of like, this guy's already 21 and a half. Next year, he'll be 22 and a half. If you're stashing him at 22 and a half, it feels like a slippery slope to now he's a 29-year-old you own rights to.
Yeah, but again, though, like but not consistently soaking up a roster spot. I mean, if you're just comfortable getting that second-round pick, it just to me feels like a lower risk swing. Like what's really the worst case?
Lower risk. It's of course lower risk. So it's still a failure if he just becomes a draft.
Well, yeah, you want to
choo-choo Matabound. It's pick. Like, okay, yeah.
I guess I just mean I don't mind them going in to take him. Like, you know what I mean? What's the downside of going for
But to me, that would be what would make it an A pick. Is if next year he's like, you know what? Even if he's the 15th guy, the third center, if he's a guy that's worthy of bringing over to fill a roster spot,
he's intriguing. Like, you heard a lot of good things about our friend Peter, but then physically, you just never ever really.
I never bought it.
Kamagate is a much more advanced player than Cornely was at this stage. Though he just won Defensive Player of the Year in the A-League. He played 27 minutes per game last season. Cornely, I think, was playing around 20 per game when he came over. Like, Kamagate is a much more known commodity,
I think. Play above the rim a little bit. I mean, Peter was just kind of like a big gargoyle out there.
We are going to see Kamagate in Summer League, though. So
very excited. I'm actually excited that we're going to see all these guys. Like, I know that sounds silly.
I love it. It's like
we get to judge them right away. We get to see them.
We get to render judgment upon them. I can't wait. I love them. This is my favorite part. Like I'll just to tell the story again. Like Bones Highland, we were excited, and then I just fell in love with him.
It took no time
because you can see it. Like you can see the guys that are going to be impactful at the next level at Summer League because they're playing against inferior competition, and so they move differently. They command a different gravity, and which is why it was so like jarring to see Zeke like flounder so badly in Summer League.
Right.
So. But I do love that. I love that we don't have to wait a long time. We're going to see these guys on the court like right away.
I honestly think everybody in Denver would be so much more hyped on Zeke if it weren't for that Summer League. If he just like rolled an ankle and didn't play last year, I feel like there'd be like everybody would be like 5 to 10% more in on Zeke.
His minutes were like good.
They were good this year. He shot well again, and like he does stuff. He got hurt. He's not a great player, but I do think he's a serviceable one. And he had one Summer League that was so bad that you're like, man, the guy's floor is terrible. Last thing I'll say, then we'll take a break and get to free agency. The one thing on the Summer League that I love Gillespie, point guard. Brown, shooting guard. Watson, 3. Kamagate, 5. There's just no overlap. All these guys, the Nuggets are going to most likely start all the players that we want to see, and I just like that. We'll get a chance to see them all a lot.
Connor Gillespie is going to play the second most out of any player the Nuggets added yesterday.
I just when
Nuggets next
when
season.
I saw him at the workout, I was like, yeah, we'll see him in Vegas.
What about
yeah.
Adonis Arms?
Adonis.
He's an Exhibit
Arms.
10 guy, probably G League.
Adonis Arms.
That guy better have 3 arms at least.
Or look like Adonis.
He
Have
does,
you
though.
seen his
Have you not
arms?
seen him?
No.
It's actually a fitting
Got
name.
nice arms.
We were
And
saying
picture it. That's him.
Yeah, we were saying that this is like a porn name for a workout guy.
If
you could name yourself.
saying.
Yeah, I was saying that to them. And they-
Adonis, it'll always remind me of Kenneth Reed referring to himself as an Adonis, and to me just being like, oh my God, Kenneth. All
You know what? He
He,
wasn't
he
wrong.
really was.
He
but
wasn't wrong.
You don't have to say it about yourself. Come
Yeah,
on,
that's
man. All right, let's hit a break.
Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR, and it's summer. So if you're out at a park, if you're at a house party, if you're looking to indulge in some Breck Brews, check out the Good Company Hard Seltzer from Breck Brews and the Lemonade Seltzers. Like I said, it's the summer. They're perfect if you're just hanging out at a park. Gorgeous Denver summer day. Check out the Good Company Hard Seltzers. I'd recommend the Peach, my personal favorite, number 1 on my seltzer power rankings. The Good Company Hard Seltzers from Breck Brew, the official beer of DNVR. Also check out the Lemonade Seltzers as well. Also, if you're in the mood for some pizza, we got to recommend Sexy Pizza. They sponsored every one of our Broncos tailgates. And with the Avs in the Stanley Cup Final, we've got a special discount offer for our fans. You guys can get 15% off your entire Sexy Pizza order when you use the promo code DNVRAVS, all one word, all uppercase. Just type in that promo code DNVRAVS, get 15% off your entire order from Sexy Pizza. You can use that promo code at www.sexy.pizza. Great pizzas, great salads, great sides. The garlic knots are fantastic. Use the promo code DNVRAVS, get 15% off your order at www.sexy.pizza.
Super chat here says from Flo, he says Kamagate's PNR partner from Paris will play with him in Summer League. Great for his first steps. He's
Yeah.
a PG from New York. Malone will love him.
I reported that today. Kyle Alman Jr., 6'3 guard who played with Kamagate in France last season.
6'3 guard.
Yeah.
Now you're talking my language.
Now back to we got to get a
Getting
tiny
closer.
king. Gillespie's a bit of a tiny king.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
It's like 6'3", right?
Yeah,
6'2",
you're-
6'3".
yeah.
All right, now
Stocky.
let's get into the tougher part here, which is now we talk about free agency. Another sense I get from conversations today, I kind of think the Nuggets are not going to make as many free agency moves as everyone thinks. I think there probably is one, big rotation player, backcourt rotation player, most likely, in my opinion, Will Barton, that's going to be moved. And probably you're talking about a swap, starting 2 for starting 2. Maybe at free agency, a free agent around the margins, backup center. I think those types of things, but I don't think the Brogdon move or something like that is going to happen. First of all, logically, not a lot of things in the cupboard now. You got a couple second-round picks and you got players, so logically there's not a big swing. But I think that is kind of by design, that the Nuggets are looking at this going, it's a marginal move. It's really, what's the replacement for, say, a Barton or somebody like that? What's the replacement there? Good, shore up some holes, move forward.
I always envisioned that if there was going to be a big move, it would be involving these 2 draft
sure.
picks that they just made.
For sure.
So, yeah, what are they going to do at this point?
So the question now becomes, let's set that expectation. Maybe we're wrong on it. It's my expectation. I think it's an educated expectation. How do you feel? The Nuggets come back with Jamal Murray, Defender X, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, and Jokic, and then Monte Morris, who, by the way, a target, I would say, to be moved at the deadline next year. Like, it might be a player that the Nuggets go into the season. Let's see how it goes. With the idea that might be a player we move on from in February. We'll read the core. Where's Brown at in his development? Where's Bones at?
Where's Jamal Murray?
Where's Jamal
coming off an ACL? That's the biggest question
Where's
of
Michael
why
Porter
you would
Jr.
keep
at?
Monte around.
1,000%. Jamal might be a guy that needs a lot of time off early on in the year or minutes or whatever. Yeah. So I think that is of the more likely scenario. But then you go with Monte, Bones, Davon Reed, Zeke Naji, and center X, cheap
that's it.
center X. If that's the roster, is this are you happy or unhappy with how
I
things
feel
unfolded?
great.
Really?
I feel great. Win now, it's not like go get Kevin Durant,
Right.
which is not. I say that way because it's not a realistic thing. Denver's limited in the moves they can make right now. We know that. We know where their investments are. We know where their chips have been pushed into, which directions, and so it's about getting the margin move right. If they get the perimeter defender, if they add a backup center, and if we're sitting here at the deadline feeling good about the Brown pick, I feel great about the Nuggets. They were very close.
Yes.
They were very close the last time we saw them.
That's the thing, is that like I feel like if they had the roster they had last year, but added Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray,
yeah.
they would have been in prime position to really compete for a championship.
Yeah.
Not much shakeup needs to happen. Like the real shakeup to me is more cultural than anything. It's it's probably moving on from Will Barton, and I don't even. The sad thing is like Will Barton is a good player.
Yeah.
Like, he's a great. Like if you just look at him in a vacuum, outside of your personal feelings about the way that he handles things down the stretch. You just look at his stats, at his measurables, the same way we're looking at these new players now that have just been drafted. Like Will Barton is an attractive player to add to your team. It's just, that it feels as though it's run its course from a cultural standpoint, which is obnoxious. Like, I just think that he's like he's a guy that can really help, and he has good relationships. But I don't see how they can bring him back.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
But
think
is that
he's gonna
enough?
be
Like,
back.
here's the big question though: is because I would be pretty shocked. I think if Barton's on the roster, if they don't make a move and you're running back with the same starting five and effectively the same second unit, I just think that that's going to be like, come on, like. There's clearly you need more defense. The question is, again, let's just say KCP. I don't know if that's the guy or not, but if it's KCP there, KCP, Brown, Davon, Gordon, that's your defenders, and then backup center X. Is that enough for you to realistically say we did what we needed to win a title?
I think it can be enough. I'd like another defender though. Like when Calvin Booth's been talking about his vision and the plan that needs to be put into action for Denver to put that championship roster around Nikola Jokic, I've got to think it was more than just KCP for Will Barton.
Right.
So I think that could be enough. Like I said, I think Denver could definitely win the championship with that starting five and the bench that we think it's going to be. I would feel a lot better if there was one more elite defender.
At what spot in particular?
The 3, Michael Porter Jr. spot.
But how do you acquire that player? Through a Barton trade?
Are we done? Is Austin Rivers no longer? I know that's
He's
not
a free
3,
agent.
But yeah, but
I'd like him back.
So
he's
if
an impact player.
If he's
Impact
on the
defensive
roster though, what is the defensive hierarchy?
I love the idea that you just have tools and that you can pull from depending upon who it is you're playing any given night. There's different personnel that it makes sense to put Austin Rivers on than it does. Like he doesn't start. He doesn't. He's probably not even the backup. But we saw that a lot.
So okay, so that's what, I'm just wondering like where he is with Brown. Starts ahead of him, but hopefully Brown outplays him.
Yeah,
Can maybe play
I
alongside
think
him?
you probably you start with the veteran presence. That's
Yeah.
Michael Malone's.
I think there's another player out there the Nuggets want, and I think that because of this quote Calvin Booth had last night when he was talking about that taxpayer mid-level exception. He said, we have a small group of guys that we would target. But then he said, if it's not there, we're not going to force it. We're going to try to get guys who are committed to playing defense and have experience that want to win.
I guess my only
So there's a list of targets that are still out there.
I guess my only hang up is when, and I know it's different for role players, but when you say elite defender, I'm thinking that sounds out of the budget, whether so to speak.
Yeah. Good defender.
Good defender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to great defender.
Yeah, it feels a little bit thin to me. The one thing I will say, and I hate to say this because it's one of those things where I don't want to be the guy that like, oh, we're just going to kick the can down the road. We're like, it's fine. Wait till you see the tapestry of moves and then it all plays out. But there is a scenario, and I hate it. It's not how I would have liked it to unfold. But there is a scenario where, say, you do bring in a KCP, you do bring in a backup center who's a good rim protector, provides that, whoever that may be, and then you roll with the rest of the guys that you have, and that means Monte and Bones is your 1-2 off of the bench, and that means that you really only have one defensive guy, whoever they trade Barton for, that's your backup go-to defender. And maybe it is an Austin Rivers as well, but again, Austin Rivers is not the elite level defender. He's a very good one. he's like the B or C version of what we're talking about.
Right.
And if you're trying to win a championship, he's not Marcus Smart. He's not Jaylen Brown. He's not like one of these guys. But I do
Marcus
wonder.
Smart didn't win a championship.
But I do wonder if it's one of those things that Denver goes into the season. They think they need Monte Morris specifically to create the buffer for Jamal Murray as he recovers, with the idea that at the deadline
Sure.
is when they're going to add that defensive
Sure.
player. Again, I don't like the idea of kicking
Right.
the
Me
can down the
either.
road, and I really don't like the idea of them going into the season having not used the traded player exception and being like, oh, but they will. It will be uncomfortable for everyone, and we're going to have to like personally answer for them for that, which I don't want to have to do.
Right.
But it is at least a scenario that could work out. It could.
Consider this. Though even in the down years, with all the injuries and pieces in and out around him, the first thirds of Barton's healthy seasons have been very good. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
If I don't
man,
don't prefer that route at all.
I would
saying.
be just
I'm just saying.
stunned if he was on this team next
Like
year.
I
a
would
deadline,
too.
Like
I
a
would- I
deadline
would-
flip.
I would agree.
Stunned.
Deadline flip though. That's all.
Like
I'm saying.
Monte, I think, kind of knows that the trade could be happening and like this or that. Like he just knows. Barton, there's no way you can trot him out there and be like, we know we've been trying to trade you. We want to
Man.
trade you. Like, what are you working for? Why are you working hard in November when you know you're going to be
This
elsewhere?
is my true hope for this new front office is that they are good on the phones. That they start to get over on teams on trades and
Right.
they start to make really deft moves and smart thing. Like, you know, for me, you know, having been a Tim Connolly defender for so many years, it's like anytime that you get in an argument, like at a certain point where you're like, yeah, I can't defend that trade. It was a bad trade.
Right.
Like that he should have moved it. I don't know. That was bad. I agree. Like the man is amazing at drafting, and like he didn't seem to have a lot of prowess in other areas. So I'm hoping that Calvin Booth is more that style of GM.
I am predicting that we're going to be a little uncomfortable with however. Like I just have a feeling that the thing is going to be just satisfying enough that you could look at it both ways. That you could look at it and say, hey, but they still have flexibility at the deadline, and the team that is better, and
Sure.
it's going to work out. But it's not. Oh, they realistically have a top 8 defense. Like I think it's going to be somewhere in that middle, and it's going to cause for a lot of like conversation.
I'd be thrilled with that.
It's good for us here on this podcast.
I think Denver's best chance at turning into a top 5 defense is just reshaping the roster fundamentally, and I don't think you want to reshape the roster fundamentally.
No, you do not.
I like the stars.
You absolutely do
and
not.
I don't know if this extends to Calvin and Tommy and the current regime, but I know that last year Tim was not eager to do anything that was going to shake up that 4 and possibly 5, but definitely those 4. And so, like, that's where the Bryn Forbes trade came in. We don't want to not do anything because Jokic is playing well, but we're definitely not going to jeopardize what we think is a title group to go chasing our own tails. And so don't do that now. I think it's a margin mover away. You're probably right. 2 defenders would make me feel much better. I just think we have to prepare ourselves for what winning this trade looks like for Denver is getting a middle, like a B- B type of player.
Well, next week should be an interesting one. The guys will be in town. We'll get to interview them down at Ball Arena, and then free agency begins. The rumors will start. Thursday will be free agency. Should be a wild one. So that's it for the weekend. We're a hockey team now.
Dude, this is Hockey Town USA.
Hockey Town USA
Led
as
by
of tonight.
me, D-line.
Led by D-line. We're going to go change into our hockey gear. Hit that like button on the way out. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon.
Let's go.